Welcome. This is my video on the Fire Bombardment Crusader. Early in Season 2, I was going to go ahead and build one of the standard Condemned, Phalanx, or Heaven's Fury builds, but I found this little baby, Cindercoat, and I thought it was just going to be a new piece of armor on the way to something better. It was early, right after I had leveled to 70, and just had a few Paragon points. And so I decided, well, I'll put this on and work with it for a while. But I couldn't help but notice a couple of stats here. The fire skills damage and the reduces resource cost of those fire skills. At that point I thought, well, might as well go out there and start picking skills that had fire. In my particular case, I chose Punish with Roar, but there is some couple options with Slash that you can use. I kind of like Burning Hammer over some of the others, but you do have the option of using Fist of the Heavens with Heaven's Tempest. That works really well too. I just have a preference for the hammers. Back to the skills. Yeah, I had just found the Cindercoat, so I started kind of looking for anything that had fire skills damage. And I had pretty good luck. It just seemed like one after the other I was finding good items with fire skills. But then something really good happened. I found two items within just a few runs of each other. One was the Mortal Drama, where I had double the number of bombardment impacts, and the Belt of the Trove, which automatically calls down the bombardment every 8 seconds. There's no more cooldowns to wait for. There's no puffing skills into making your cooldown shorter. It just automatically gets called. So anything I do in the way of cooldown reduction, that's just there for bonus. Quickly, Bombardment being the primary skill that I'm going to use, gets called down every 8 seconds. Annihilate is the one that gives the fire damage, and also this one has 100% chance for a critical hit. That means every hit is a crit. So not only am I dealing 2850% in fire damage, I'm getting a 100% critical hit chance every time I do it. So let's take a look at the stats here. Strength isn't as high as some people, but it's good enough. I do have a little bit of bonus damage to elites, 50% and 458% on the crit hit chance and damage. Not too shabby, it's pretty good. I have worked my fire damage up to 91%. I've gotten it higher with the Mage Fist, but these gloves, I like the Shrine effects last for 10 minutes, and they actually do more damage than the other ones, so I opted just to go without the fire damage on these, but I have it on several other pieces to add up to my 91. Another little thing here that does well for me is my punish damage increase is 106%, mainly due to this guy right here, the primary skills with the Depth Diggers. Comes in pretty handy when you're just banging away with your primary skill. I can even use Slash if I want to. Remember we mentioned earlier that Slash has a couple of fire damage options that are perfectly viable to use with this build. That's one of the things that I really like about this build is it's flexible. You're not stuck to any one particular skill, except maybe Bombardment, but why wouldn't you want to use that if it's automatically coming down? You'll see in a little while how that actually works. Something else to mention here is I have another little item that I found. You'll see as we're playing through the dungeons that I get pretty decent damage with hammers and punish, and the bombardment certainly deal a lot of damage. But what really kicks my damage into gear is the final piece to the puzzle that I found, which is the Convention of Elements. It cycles through the elemental damage for 4 seconds. And this one here has the perfect roll for the gain 200% increased damage. And it's going to come in really handy. Also, if you notice, the Pain Enhancer on critical hits gets 2000% damage on the critical hit, which goes along well with Annihilate, and that works well real too. Just down here at the bottom, sometimes I can wear the Firewalkers because of the fire damage, and as you'll see, that's going to come in pretty handy coming out. Now, let's go ahead and just move on to the dungeon. I'll go ahead and give you one last look at my details here. You can pause it if you need to look at some other stuff. And, when I do need to be able to survive in combat a little longer, I do have these two that I will switch out. Right now I'm in full damage mode, so I went ahead and put the Bane and the Wreath into these gems, mainly so they proc off of the Convention of Elements. So I do die a little bit more often, but hey, it's softcore, it's okay. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to the dungeon. Okay, we're about to step into the Rift. Early on, you'll notice the damage that I get generally without the Convention of Elements. You know, 20 million for hammers is pretty good. I've seen 30, 35 million with the bombardments without the conventional elements. But when that ring turns fire red, you will see my damage skyrocket. See about 22 million on that hammer. The fire's kicking in. And 45 million on that hammer there. When the lightning kicks in during that particular element, it gets buffed up. And if you'll notice here, the bombardments are automatically being called down. The bombardment skill is not being called directly.
I must heal.
Hopefully that's a belt of the Trove. 1 to 6 seconds on it.
I must wait longer.
Also, I'm not dependent on the Akarat's champion. A lot of builds are dependent on the 24/7 Akarats, but in this particular build, the Akarat's champion is more of a fluff, an extra bonus when you need that little extra oomph when you're against an elite. The fire damage plus and the critical hits add up. The conventional element certainly makes the necessary use of 24/7 Akarats unneeded, as well as any of the cooldown reductions that a lot of other builds are dependent upon. That leaves me more room to add other kinds of items and mix and match, and be a little more flexible with the kind of build that I use. Even when I'm doing the small damage, the 15 million, the 20 million, the 25 million hits, I get so much in so quickly. And when I combine that with the Wreath of Lightning that comes in, the Pain Enhancer damage that kicks in that really is kind of silent sometimes, that's where a lot of the damage comes in as well, even without the convention of elements. This build does very well. Of course, it's nice to have that 70 million hit every now and then. Take a moment here and slow down the playback of the video and let you see the kind of damages that are going to happen in the next few moments here. Let's check it out. There's some 30 million, then the ring kicks in for fire, and you're going to see 96 million, 63 at the top, but 57 million. But watch this second bombardment. There's the first one at 87. Now the big one, 101 million damage from one bombardment. So 100 million is possible in here. In fact, I think in multiplayer rifts, when I get buff damages from other players and things, I often see well over 100 million in some of my hits. So that really makes it a sweet deal.
I'm returning to town.
But this is my Fire Bombardment Crusader. We'll take one last little look here at the
Ancients would be proud.
the gear. Certainly the Belt of the Trove and the Mortal Drama are required pieces for this build. The Cinder Code is a almost require. I could do without it, but the reduced fire skills does help with the hammers or the other skills that you might have a choice with. And then the crowning jewel, being the Convention of Elements, does give massive damage. If you're looking for something a little more survivable, I would suggest the Molten Wild Beast Gizzard. That gives you a large amount of life per second and gives you an absorb shield. This is also good for your non-physical resistance, and especially when you're below half life, your resistances are, even triple that. So that certainly does make it a much more survivable build. Pain Enhancer coming in on the procs off the critical hit chance of 100% off Annihilate. Does deal an extra 3,000% damage every time it critical hits somebody over 3 seconds. So, that's a lot of damage to be handing out. And even with the Convention of Elements, because it's physical damage, that is one of the cycles in there. So having the physical damage there, the lightning damage off of the wreath, and then the fire damage for everything else. So I'm getting extra damage off this ring quite a bit. Anyway, this is a great little build. It is not the perfect build. I've seen some builds out there do far more damage than I have had, but I certainly enjoy using this one.